Hey, I'm Daniel with Plumpy Thimble. Today I'm taking a look at Empyreal, Spells and Steam, the third game by Trey Chambers. And if anything can be said for his previous two games, if we were looking for any sort of trend, it would have been that he's never given boxes that are quite big enough to fit his games. Which is why I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall and hear whatever he said to Level 99 Games to convince them that this was an appropriate sized box. Empyreal, Spells and Steam is a game set in the high fantasy world of Indines. And if you're familiar with BattleCon or Argent the Consortium, you know exactly what that means. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a high fantasy setting in which there's so many spells that are slung around, it's a miracle that they could even get a rail system set up. For its abundance of components, Empyreal is a relatively simple game that mixes route building with tableau management. Resources are placed on the hex-based modular game board, and cities have specific resources they're hoping to get from all over the map. The more a player can deliver to a city connected to their network, the higher valued demand tile they can earn. Through the course of the game, players build networks of trains spanning their reach across the map, sharing spaces in some instances, competing to be the first to deplete hexes of their precious resources. The action that a player can take correspond to their specific player mat. This mat has a conductor pawn that moves from the left side of the board to the right, taking available actions in the columns below. Moving further down the line or taking certain actions depletes mana, the renewable resource that drives this game. Instead of moving down the line, a player can instead refresh their mana, draw another spell card to be placed on their board, giving them more options as they play, and refresh any unused captain or engineer specialists. Once a player's conductor reaches the end of the line, they can make an upgrade to their company and deliver goods to a connected city in their network, scoring points for each good they pick up and the appropriate amount of points for the demand tile that they pick up should they meet that requirement. Once a player runs out of trains or collects the mandated amount of demand tiles, the game ends. Now, a train game set in the world of Indines was something that instantly interested me when this was on Kickstarter. But it was a bit hard for me to wrap my head around and continued to be so until I had a copy available to review. And continued to be so until I managed to get it to the table. That being said, once it was on the table, it was pretty straightforward. The whole concept of a train game is very linear in my mind. Connect routes. You kind of go, it's a linear idea to me. When I think train game, I mostly think Ticket to Ride, get from point A to point B. Well, that's very much a part of what Empyreal is. Due to the wonder of magic in the world of Indines, your trains don't even necessarily have to be connected to each other. Due to certain actions, you could jump and you could be a few spaces away. You could be on the other side of the board. And that was hard to wrap my head around. And there's also no train routes. It's all a hex-based map system. Not that that in and of itself is confusing, but it was just these concepts that didn't mend with my relatively inexperienced train game mind. But like I said, once it was set up, once I read through the rules once and saw how everything looked, it clicked. Everything made sense and we were up and running. One thing to note about all of Trey Chambers' games that I've played so far, which is Harvest, Empyreal, and Argent the Consortium, is he loves giving you choices. You look at something like Harvest, and while it's not overwhelming in the sense of the amount they give you, it's definitely a lot more than you expect from a smaller box game. Argent the Consortium, on the other hand, is a blast, one of my all-time favorite games, but there's so much jam-packed into that box and so many options that you can do every game that it's sometimes blinding and overwhelming. Empyreal finds a nice sweet spot in that it looks intimidating. The box is massive, and so you think, especially going in, maybe with Argent and Consortium in mind, wondering how complicated, how hard is this going to be to grasp? And thankfully, it's not that difficult. You are given plenty of options, but all of them make perfect sense. And you don't have to take all of those actions in a single turn. You can't. You're limited in what you can do in a single turn, but you're still given a lot of options to play with. One of those areas where you have all those options available is the specialist. Each player starts with a captain, and that doesn't change, but the captain is an ability that you can play and then refresh throughout the course of the game. It gives you some sort of power that alters the game for you specifically. As the game progresses, you can then earn other specialists. You can bring them onto your team, so it were. One of each. You can get an engineer, a station master, and a surveyor, and all three of them act a little bit differently. But the idea is you are able to make a lot of different decisions, mix that in with the spell cards that you can add to your board, And there's a lot of decisions to be made, but you're really only forced to make a handful of decisions every turn. And I guess what I'm getting at here is that for the size of the game, the complexity is a relief for me. It's a game that, because that complexity isn't nearly as intimidating as I was expecting, it's a game that I'm going to be able to get to the table a lot more often, and one that I enjoy and am not intimidated to teach other people. The iconography it's a lot, and how's your reading comprehension? Because it's going to need to be pretty high in order to sift through the rule book and references to then understand the secondary language that's sort of tossed in the box in the form of the iconography. That being said, the rulebook and references are fantastic. Everything is very clear. The answers to the questions that you might have are going to be in the rulebook, and it's not that intimidating of a rulebook either. There's also references for every single spell card, every single specialist in the game, so you can get the idea of what you need. There's also a legend for the iconography, but the problem isn't so much understanding what one individual icon means. Oftentimes the icons are next to each other, so you need that reference to understand maybe what not just one icon means, but what two separate icons mean side by side. As with any of these games, the more you play it, the more familiar you're going to get with the icons and what they mean. It's a problem that will solve itself if you take the time to play this game a lot. Quickly taking a look at the design choices made in here, and most of them are fantastic. Some of the color choices were a little bit more difficult, and it's not that huge of a deal because there are, like I said, icons all over this board, so you don't necessarily need them, but almost every time I've set up this game, I've confused the green and the yellow, which is like the desert and the forest, and also the rock and the ice spaces, just what those resources are and where they go on the board and where the specific cities go. And let me tell you, that's not the resource. That's not what the resources are called. Like I said, the World of Indines is a rich and bountiful world, and one that I am not 100% familiar with. You know what? That's not fair. Is Charisma, Earlite, Heartwood, Hylatine, oh boy, Ritherwhite, and Vital Silver. The lore within Empyreal is so rich and it's so well steeped that it sometimes seems hyperbolic or unnecessary or convoluted, but the fact is that Level 99 is building a pretty solid flagship theme here, not just with Empyreal, but also with Argent and Consortium and BattleCon, and then also it's seeping into Millennium Blades and Pixel Tactics. It's cool, and it's not just a one-off world, it's one that they continue to build on. And the artwork's awesome. Like, everything about this is cool. It's currently, like, the art from this game is currently my phone background because I like it so much. I think that's sort of the big hard pill to swallow here is the $100 MSRP price tag. The design choices in here are fantastic. The organization is incredible for any game, let alone something this ambitious. Even the basic form of the game comes with plastic molded cities that you can put the cardboard tiles in, demand tiles, and it works very well, and it's very impressive, and a $100 price tag would be something that you'd expect when looking at this game. However, I think it's a hard pill to swallow because it may be pricing itself out. The people that are looking at $100 board games are looking for something maybe a little bit more complicated than this. I am so happy that it's not more complicated than it is. To me, it is perfect. It's that I would put this about a little bit higher than the weight of something like Wingspan, which is a medium lightweight game. But this is in that realm where I can get it to the table. I can play it with people that don't play big, heavy games. A two-player game lasts us maybe 40, 50 minutes, and it's great. Like this is like the ideal of what I'm looking for in something like this, and it's so much fun. But that $100 price tag, the people that see that, that's in the realm of something like Gloomhaven. That's in the realm of big, giant games that take lots and lots of time and take lots of commitment. So people that are forking out $100 usually are people that are invested, are looking to have that type of commitment with a game. Now, having a game that you don't have to be that committal to in something like Empyreal is, it's great. It's fantastic. But again, that $100 price tag is hard to swallow. Fortunately, some of the bigger online game stores, despite that MSRP, are pre-ordering this for like $65. And this is, I mean, it's worth $100. It's well worth $65. And again, I don't know where that pricing is going to rest. Like I said, I've mentioned before that Millennium Blades is my all-time favorite game, and the MSRP is frequently quite a bit higher than what you can actually get it for online. So it's something to keep an eye on and something to consider. It's this weird direction where Level 99 Games has made something fantastic. And they made something expensive, and it's worth the amount of money that they're asking. My concern is just that it's going to turn a lot of people off from that. If that's not you, great, look into this. If it is you and it concerns you, you might be able to find this for a little bit cheaper than MSRP. At the very least, it's something to consider and something to look into. And if you enjoy that Indine, the World of Indines, anything from like the Argent the Consortium universe, if you enjoy gameplay like Wingspan, where you're building a tableau and it plays off of each other with sort of a heavy dash of something like Ticket to Ride thrown in, with a little bit more cutthroatness, and just a lot of variety, a lot of flavor. And that variety is not, it's less confusing than it is seasoning, if that makes any sense. Like the choices and the decisions and the amount of stuff that's in this box seasons the game. It doesn't complicate it. I mean, at a minimum, Empyreal should be something that's on your radar. For me, it's one of my favorite games that I played this year, possibly by far. I absolutely love this game and hope that it gets the attention and the fanfare that it deserves. So there you have it, Empyreal from Level 99 Games. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe. I'd love to hear what you think of either the World of Indines, Empyreal, what you think about a train game in this price range, if that's something that would interest you. Really, anything. We are marching towards 1,000 subscribers. We're getting closer every day. Thank you so much for those of you that have subscribed or that watch this channel, share the channel. It means a ton to me, and I really, really appreciate it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.